Today I'm going to tell you about a place where you can have tax residency with no physical presence requirements and also have very optimized tax for certain people. We're going to discuss how it is in many regards a better program than some of the others that you might see in Europe. It is fairly conveniently located, and it's a place that people are not talking about, although I have had a number of people ask about it in the comments, as well as once in a while it comes up when I'm discussing with clients. So today we're going to talk about residency and tax optimization in the Rock of Gibraltar. And then in a future video, I'm going to go through a little bit for you about whether you should form companies in Gibraltar, which is a whole other conversation. So let's dive in and discuss. So for those of you who are not familiar, Gibraltar is a small British overseas territory, crown dependency, at the tip of the Iberian Peninsula at the base of Spain. Between Spain and Morocco, there is a little small island, or not island, but a small, it's not really a nation, but sort of a territory that lies at that tip and is home to a fairly small population of people. I believe it's around 80,000, if I recall correctly. And for a bunch of people who are used to living in places like Marbella, they often think about this because Marbella, being in Spain, is a very high tax. Spain in general, terrible for tax for the most part, although we've talked a few times about a couple of the little fancy regimes you can have there for a limited period of time. And Gibraltar potentially offers something much more attractive only a few miles away. So the question becomes, is it worth it? And why isn't everybody flocking there? So first of all, let's just understand it is a part of UK, and therefore Brits are allowed to go and live there with no issues at all. You don't need any special residency permits, etc. If you're a Brit, you can go to Gibraltar and live there. If you're somebody who was born in Gibraltar, you can live there. Everybody else would need to get some sort of a residency permit. We're going to talk in a moment about something called Category 2 residency, which is sort of the most common for the type of thing that we're discussing. However, there are multiple residency options for people who are interested in going and living there. It is sometimes considered a tax haven. It has famously earned a bunch of money through the financial services, in particular kind of the wealth management industry, as well as the gaming industry. It was kind of an offshore gaming haven for quite some time. And back in the day, I used to form quite a lot of companies there. We don't form hardly any there anymore, but I'll talk about, again, that in a future video about whether it is a good place for your particular type of business, why it was great, why it's got some drawbacks today, and whether it's workable that, what person should consider it. What is the big deal here? Okay, so first of all, Gibraltar by default has no capital gains tax. They have no wealth tax. They have no inheritance tax, and they have no VAT. So this is very interesting for a lot of people to go and visit there, a place that has no VAT, which is formerly EU. After Brexit, has a special relationship with the EU, but is not a part of the EU. And so shopping can be cheaper there. It's pretty similar to Andorra in this regard, or possibly San Marino. I've talked about both of those places in the past. Possibly, if you want to go and pick up, some cheap perfumes or things like this, that is a place that you can do it. And of course, this does some things to drive the cost of living down a little. If you were to look at things like the price of gas compared to UK, the price of a variety of other things compared to UK, it can be lower, mainly because of the lack of VAT, and kind of a similar thing when comparing to Spain. It's a pretty wealthy place in terms of GDP per capita, so it has a reasonable amount of infrastructure, fairly well established. I would say that it is small, and so we'll talk about it in a second of whether you want to go there or not. But the base tax rates do go up as high as 39%. And so some people might say, well, hang on a minute, 39%, that's not so low. I guess if I'm earning only capital gains, or I'm earning, some sort of gifts or something like that, then this maybe is good, but not so great if I'm talking about 39%. And this is where we will slow you down. Now, there's actually two systems in Gibraltar. I'm not going to explain them because this is the normal route that is not particularly interesting for maybe most people who would look at going there. Bottom line is, they have these two systems, and neither of them is that low tax for people who are just going to Gibraltar and earning regular income. However, for other people, first of all, they have a sort of quasi remittance territorial tax system, which can allow a bunch of the income not to be taxed, in particular some income potentially from dividends, potentially income from interest. And so these things are pretty good. However, the really big deal with Gibraltar is they have something called Category 2, as well as they have a high-skilled professional tax regime. So Category 2 works as follows. You're in a situation where to get it, you have to have $2 million of net worth. You have to have a place that is like a home in Gibraltar that is only available to you all year round, so it can't be rented out. It's basically going to be a sunk cost for you, fair enough. In trade, what you get is they only tax you up to a maximum of a certain income. And what it works out is that the maximum income tax you'll pay is around £37,000 per year. Okay? Pretty good, a lot more attractive than, say, the flat tax regime in Italy or the flat tax regime in Greece. There is a minimum tax on that, which basically works out to around £32,000. So, you're basically in the £32,000 to £37,000 a year fixed tax. No matter what, you're going to end up paying in that range, but you're not going to get hit with excess taxes unless there's a couple of rare exceptions, such as if you own real estate there and you're renting it out, then the rental income is taxable in sort of a separate regime. But for most people, that's not going to be the situation. I mean, it's a small country, or I guess not a country, but small territory, small region, jurisdiction. On the other hand, there is another program as well, which is for people who are high-skilled professionals who are relocating to Gibraltar to kind of bring their skills. And these people are taxable on a maximum of £160,000 per year. And so the total tax rate that ends up being hit on them is basically £39,000. So again, they're kind of have a ceiling. Now in the case of Category 2 holders, these are people who have not been resident in Gibraltar in the last 5 years. The high-skilled professionals can't have been resident in Gibraltar in the last 3 years. And in both cases, that could be something that could be useful for you. Category 2 is specifically also a residency program as well as this tax program. So you can get a residency there on basically this basis, plus that can be a tax residency, and there is no minimum stay requirement. So this is super attractive for people. Now, of course, as I've mentioned in some other videos, if you're resident in some other country, this doesn't make you not resident in that other country. So just because you have it in Gibraltar doesn't mean you don't have it somewhere else. However, it is pretty attractive for somebody who might be thinking, well, I need some place to be tax resident, and I want to be able to provide this to banks, etc., something that I can show them that I actually have a tax residency certificate, I have a tax number, I paid taxes here, etc., but I'm pretty globally mobile, I'm going to be in multiple different countries, and I don't have to spend any meaningful amount of time in Gibraltar. This is like great for those people. Now you can ask the question, depending on how much time you're going to spend there, would you prefer someplace like Monaco? You have different trade-offs in that regard. Certainly £2 million of net worth is not an insanely high amount for a lot of people, and so it's pretty normal to be able to qualify for that if you're earning a fairly high income. But it does put a lot of people out of the ballpark, although to be fair, probably people who are lower net worth probably don't really want to be paying a minimum tax of £32,000 either, so there's a trade-off in that regard. People who are going to go there as high-skilled professionals and kind of operate locally and earn income, being able to cap their income tax at £39,000 could be really attractive as well, and give you access within a short distance to some attractive areas of Spain. And this is where I think the real question comes in. I've had a number of clients who either have lived in Spain and been interested in moving to Gibraltar, or in a few cases people actually live in Gibraltar who we have had conversations with. And the question is always, do you actually want to live in Gibraltar, right? Because if you're living in Spain, then you're going to be tax resident in Spain. It's not going to make any difference. And so some people will say, well, I can just drive across the border for the day, go and be there. Okay, great. If you're not wanting to do that all the time, otherwise there's a bit of a commute. You're crossing a border both directions, kind of a weird border crossing between Gibraltar and Spain. If you ever go and check it out, it's kind of this massive sort of tarmac sort of area. Anyway, that's personal preference. I think for me, I don't like to bias people too much, but I tend to think that these small places, where there's not that much going on, etc., there's a certain type of people who they are attractive for, and it's probably a fairly minority of people, which is part of the reason I don't see a lot of clients moving to Gibraltar. It is potentially, for the right person, could be great. Obviously, you could, maybe just go and set up your life there and enjoy it, and that could be wonderful. A cool thing about the Category 2 status is that it can be extended for a lifetime, although it's renewable after, I believe it is 3 years. And so this makes it more attractive than, say, the Italian option. The difference, of course, is in Italy, you get to live in Italy. Here you're living in Gibraltar. And so the question is, what's that like for your lifestyle? That's a very personal question. So anyway, I think it's really cool for the right set of people who are interested in having someplace they can set up tax residency. They can base themselves and show that they're paying some tax. They're mostly earning investment income, and so they're not going to be affected. They're quite happy to spend maybe a bit of time there, or at least not spend an extended period of time in any other particular place. And it's English speaking, everything's in English there, although they also have the Spanish connections. It's kind of a unique culture, I would say, in that regard for somebody who are interested in going and checking it out. I always recommend go and check it out if you are in a place, like if you happen to be in south of Spain, it's a very quick drive down to Gibraltar. You know, go and spend a day or two, check out the Rock of Gibraltar, see the monkeys, check out the beach, see whether it's for you, and find out accordingly. If it's something you're interested in learning more about, please reach out to us. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rasmus, link in the description below. Or if you were interested in other programs and you want to know what the best solution is for you, that would be a great opportunity to reach out to us or to send a message through our website, offshorecitizen.net. The other thing that you might want to consider is potentially forming a company there, and so I will create a video for that for people who are interested in maybe not being resident, but taking advantage of some of the benefits in terms of companies. If you have comments, put them in the comments below, give the video a thumbs up, and I'm going to see you guys on the next video.